stones and evening fades. You inspire songs of praise that rise from earth to touch your heart and glorify your name. Your name is a strong and mighty tower. Your name is a shelter like no other. Your name, let the nations sing it louder. Nothing has the power to save but your name. Strength to live for you and glorify your name. Your name is a strong and mighty tower. Your name is a shelter like no other. Your name, let the nations sing it louder. Nothing has the power to save your name. Your name is a strong and mighty tower. Your name is a shelter like no other. Your name, let the nations sing it louder. Nothing has the power to save. Oh, your name is a strong and mighty tower. Your name is a shelter like no other. Your name, let the nations sing it louder. Nothing has the power to save but your name. Priests did not uncover themselves. In fact, there were clear laws in the Old Testament that a priest cannot expose his nakedness in the presence of God. If he does it, he's finished. You see, David knows all that. He meditates on the law day and night. He's not going to go and uncover his, expose himself like that. No. That is, see, her talk is like that. You see, these people who criticize, they'll take something small, they'll talk as though something, that is the nature, isn't it? Actually, the only person who did wrong in this scenario is Michal, David's wife. Because what was she doing watching the procession from the window? She should have been in the procession. Read verse 17 and 18. Everybody were in the procession. Women, children, the entire nation, entire city was there in the procession. They participated in all the celebration, and David finally hands over presents and all that. And then only they go home. She alone is watching from the castle window, not participating. That itself tells you what kind of relationship she has with God. But criticizing David. Look at how she thinks. She thinks how the king of Israel humiliated himself. David doesn't think of himself as the king. Look at how David thinks of himself. He replies to her harsh words in verse 21. David said to Michal, "It was before the Lord who chose me She is saying, you humiliated yourself, uncovered yourself before those female servants. He's saying, I danced before the perspective. See how she's thinking? He's dancing before everyone. He's thinking, all the people are there. He's thinking, whoa, so what if 100,000 people are there? I am dancing before the Lord. He says, it was before the Lord, verse 21, who chose me above your father and above all his house. Who's he talking to? He's talking to the daughter of Saul, the previous king. Right? And he's saying, she's saying, a king should not do like this. Should not just humiliate himself like this. Embarrass himself like this. He's saying, listen, I am only king by the pure grace of God. I am king because he chose me. And it is before the one who chose me as king that I am dancing. See, look how he says it. He says, it was before the Lord who chose me above your father and above all his house. What is he saying? Your father and his line, his children, they were the ones who were actually qualified to be king. They were the ones who had the background. They were the ones who had the experience. But God chose me, a nobody, the last in my family, who was just a shepherd for a few sheep. He chose me from there and he made me king. It is before that person, the Lord who chose me to be king over anybody in your father's house, that I'm dancing. The sense he has is, I am nothing without him. What kinging and all this, She's saying, oh, you're king. He's saying, before God, I was a nobody and God made me great. Before him, I dance. He chose me as prince over Israel, and I will make merry before the Lord. Then he goes one step further. Look at his reply in verse 22. I will make myself yet more contemptible than this. He says, you just watched the beginning. Now it's going to I'm going to freak out a little more. The dance is going to go a little more. See, by that he doesn't mean I'm going to do it in a dishonorable way. I'm going to do it in an indecent way. Please don't, people use this sometimes as an excuse. See, David did it like that, we can also. No. Remember, David danced before look at the way he's thinking. If he's always thinking, I'm dancing before the Lord, would he have done it in an indecent way? No. Look at his next sentence. Even though he says, I'll make myself yet more contemptible than this, he says, and I will be abased in your eyes. What he means is, you will think I'm very low. I will go more and dance more. So that you will think I am even worse, But look at the next one. But by the female servants of whom you have spoken, by them I shall be held in honor. What he's saying is, woman, you are wrong. You are saying I'm humiliated in front of those female servants. No, actually, they hold me in high honor. They understand me right. You are the one who misunderstands. And just to prevent your misunderstanding, I will not reduce my dance. You think of me worse. I will dance even more for the Lord. It's amazing. He is willing to risk being misunderstood and humiliated because he wants to give his all to God. He's not doing it in an indecent or dishonorable way. Please don't misunderstand the whole point. Point is, with my whole heart, with my whole mind, with my whole strength, with all of my strength, my body, my mind, my everything is given, involved in this act of thanksgiving. He devotes all his energies into it. He loses himself in it. Why does he go to such great extremes, my friend? Why does David, the king, go to such an extreme in praising and thanking God? Think about it. Why does David thank God? That's the next question. We just saw how David thanks God. Now let's answer the next one. Why does David thank God in this extreme manner? Let's go back to Psalm 138 and we'll pick it up again where we left off. Look at verse 2. David tells us clear reasons why he thanks God. Verse 2. I bow down toward your holy temple and give thanks to your name for your steadfast love and your faithfulness. For your steadfast love and that's the reason. Two reasons right there. Why does David thank God? For his steadfast love and faith. That word steadfast love in some translations will say for his mercy. Right? Tamil, kirubai. Some translations will say for his loving kindness. Loving kindness, mercy, steadfast love. What does that mean? It means mercy. What does mercy mean? Where God, mercy, loving kindness, steadfast love, the basic meaning for these words are God gives us what we don't deserve. God gives us what we, grace also, that meaning is there. See, in Tamil comes kirubai. Kirubai means grace. That word is translated in so many different ways because it's such a rich word, people cannot decide how exactly to translate it. You have to use so many words. It is actually, that word is even bigger than the word grace in the New Testament. This word, which is translated steadfast love, in the Tamil Bible comes out as grace. It's a bigger concept than grace in New Testament because this one word involves both grace and love. Grace and, imagine if you put grace and love and pack it into one word, that's that word. In the Hebrew it is hesed, steadfast love, loving kindness, mercy, favor, and so on. It's translated as. There's so much in that word, but let me try to break it down. God gives us what we don't deserve. That is steadfast love. That is his loving kindness. That is his mercy. That is his grace. He gives us what we don't deserve. Like I just said, David didn't deserve to be king. He didn't have the necessary qualifications to be king. He didn't have the necessary background to be king. But God gave him what he didn't deserve. He made him king. Not only that, it's not just where God gives us what we don't deserve, but it's where God enters into a covenant with us. There is the idea of covenantal love in that word, hesed, which means loving kindness. They say the idea is not just like a one-time love or a occasional love being shown, occasional grace whenever you need it kind of thing. No. It's a constant thing and it's a continuous thing because God pulls you into a covenant relationship with him and keeps showering you with his loving kindness and mercy and grace. That's what God did to David. He entered into a covenant with him. Go read 2 Samuel chapter 7, you will see that. He makes a pact with him. Comes and he says, I will make you great. I will make sure your son is on the throne. Your heir is on the throne. And so on. And he continues to shower his kindness and his love and his mercy and his grace. That's what David means. He means to say, he's speaking from personal experience and he says, God has shown me, given me what I don't deserve, and he keeps giving me what I don't deserve because I am in a covenant relationship with him. And the next word there is what? Next reason why David thanks God is faithfulness. Right? Verse 2. I give you thanks for your steadfast love and your faithfulness. What does that mean? Faithfulness. I'm just giving you some brief things so that it'll help you to thank God right now. My goal is, by the end of this message, you should be thanking God from your hearts. If I have done something to help with that, I'm happy. Faithfulness means what? Faithfulness here especially means God is faithful to his word. God is faithful to his word. What he has said he will do. He's faithful. He's loyal to the word or the promise that he has given us. That's the meaning. How do I know that? Because if you read the next line, it confirms it. For you have exalted your word above your name. You have exalted your word above your... I'm reading verse 2. David is saying, God, I give you thanks for your steadfast love or your mercy, for your faithfulness, where you are loyal to your word. And he says, you have exalted your word above your name. What does he mean by that? That's quite an amazing statement. He's saying, even above your name, God's name is the highest. There is nothing exalted beyond God's name, you see. But here David says, you have exalted your word above your... how can you even understand that? There are various explanations, but I'm thinking that perhaps, again, David, I think he's speaking from personal experience here. I'll show you why in a bit. In the next verse, he talks about, God answered me. You answered me. He makes it personal. So I think David is speaking from personal experience and he's thinking of how God chose him. He didn't deserve to be king. God chose him, made him king, showered his mercy and grace, and gave him great promises. Go read the promises in 2 Samuel chapter 7 once again. Chapter 6 is very danced. Chapter 7 is where he says, God, I want to build you a temple. Remember that? And God says, forget about you building me a temple. He says, I want to build you a house. Right? Forget about you building me a house. I will build your house. That's what God says in the next chapter. What he means is, I will build up your dynasty, your descendants, your heirs. I will make sure your heir is on the throne forever and ever. I don't have the time to read it. You can go read in 2 Samuel chapter 7. God gives him amazing promises. And after that, what happens? You remember? After that only David falls into adultery, commits murder. Remember that? See, in the beginning he was very nice. God chose him, made him king. He didn't deserve to be king. And then he gave him lavish promises. I mean, promises nobody will ever get, I will make your heir to be on the throne forever and ever. That's the promise. And after that, David commits adultery and murder. I think by that time, David would have thought, that's it, God is done with me, he's finished with me. Why? I have ruined his name. I have ruined his reputation. I mean, think about what the people would have thought at that time after David commits adultery and murder, how they would have spoken. The king whom God appointed, look how he is acting, look how he is behaving. Committing the worst sins. Look at his own family. David's family goes through a very tough time after that. All kinds of problems and fighting, and they're trying to murder one another. It becomes one of the worst families actually after he commits murder and adultery. By that time, I think people would have been talking, look at the king whom God has kept, and when they spoke about the king, I think God's name and reputation itself would have taken a hit at that moment. Not long term, but at that moment. Yes, it's the king whom God selected and God put, look how he is. Perhaps David is thinking back to his experience and he's saying, God, you chose me, gave me what I didn't deserve, gave me lavish promises, but Lord, I failed you sometimes. I committed the worst things against you. I murdered somebody, I committed adultery, I went against you, Lord. You could have thrown me out. You could have removed me from my kingship, but you did not. I ruined your name and your reputation. In spite of that, you stuck with me and you were loyal to the promise you gave me. You exalted your word to me above your name and your reputation for the moment. You see, God could have thrown out David in 1 minute. He could have said, you're done. I gave you a promise, but that's before you acted this way. Get out. But no, what does God do? He keeps his promise to David. David's son only comes on the throne. Yes, there are consequences and ramifications. The Israelites lose the kingdom and the kingdom is broken and so on. Everything goes. But guess what? There comes another king many hundreds of years later. That king's name is Jesus. And he is known as the son of David only. Son of David. When 2 Samuel 7 talks about David's heir being on the throne forever and ever, it's not about Solomon. It is about Jesus. God could have said, listen, David, you have ruined my reputation. You have given me a bad name now. So I'm going to kick you out and bring in Jesus through another line. No. What God has spoken, he will do. Nothing can change that. He will not take back his promise. He will not go back on his word. That is what David means when he says, I praise you for your faithfulness. You have exalted your word above your name. And I think in the end, because of this, God's name also is exalted. Right now, right? In your hearts and your minds, when you think of this, we exalt God's name. Because he exalted his word above his name, we exalt his name.
Every praise is to our God. every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Come on, everybody. Every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise is to our God. God my Savior, God my healer, God my deliverer. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. God my Savior, God my healer, God my deliverer. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. God my Savior, God my healer, God my deliverer. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. God my Savior, God my healer, God my deliverer. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah is to our God. Every praise the